everyone, welcome back to the Critic-Verse. Sorry for the long hiatus on Bel-Air videos. I lost a piece of equipment and the replacement process was a pain, so I'm trying to play catch up. Today we're going to be looking at Bel-Air Season 2 Episode 7 titled Under Pressure. Now this will be a little bit different from my usual videos as there won't be a breakdown portion and it'll just be a review. So before we get to the video, like, comment, and subscribe for more, and now on to the review. The episode is titled Under Pressure, and it's referring to a couple of the characters that are in that sort of situation in this episode. Will is trying to find a balance between competing for the Founders Award and Zenith hype practice. Carlton is under the pressure of his peers after a video comes to light. Viv feels the pressure of the Neiman Fellowship on her artistic freedom. Hillary and Jazz feel the pressure of their relationship, and Jeffrey feels the pressure of trying to come back into his son's life. Will and Carlton are back at odds as the Founders Award competition goes underway. Now, something that's odd is I didn't know that it was going to be more like a student body election than it was an award like the Oscars or like an Emmy, where they just get picked based on a committee. Instead, they're getting picked based on votes. The Banks family, who were persuaded by Will to help Jeffrey see his son again, hold to that promise in the very next episode. Yovan Wade guest stars on this week's episode as Jeffrey's son, Frederick. He's best known for his roles as Cyborg on Doom Patrol and Riggsy in Doctor Who. Uncle Phil, after saying last episode he'll always bet on Carlton, tells Carlton he's going to focus on Will because Will needs the help. Will, after having an awkward conversation with LaMarcus, is making a play at matchmaker between Jazz and Hillary, which may actually have ended their relationship rather than helped them. Phil is under pressure from his old law firm partner, trying to save his firm while everyone else is focused on an acquisition, but Phil doesn't want to give up just yet. Janice keeps sending Viv bad reviews of her show, which causes Viv to reveal she made the fan favorite piece of Hillary's followers, and Hillary offers to mentor her mom in a crash course on social media and how to get her voice out there. Will turns down a practice session with Uncle Phil when Doc calls an extra practice session at Zenith, and the Zenith practice sesh does make Will late to a Founders Award meet and greet with the candidates. Uncle Phil takes the meeting with the board of Erica's firm, and they wanted him to take control of their West Coast division, which is more lawyers than his own firm, which could have led to his best solution, but more on that later. This particular section of the Founders Award felt more like an election, and each candidate follows popular tactics in real-world politics. Connor uses his family's name and nepotism. Carlton name drops with a picture of him and former President Barack Obama. But Will is unprepared and uses the everyman POV, but it's clear that isn't enough this time around. Then, as it appears that Carlton is running ahead, a video of the locker room scene from Season 1, Episode 1, where the primarily white lacrosse team is singing along to the Bobby Shmurda song, Hot Boy, which is only the censored name of the song. And the rest of the team, well, primarily Connor, is seen using the N-word, and Carlton is also shown allowing it to happen, while Will is shown going against it. The video knocks Connor out of the running as he drops out of the race because it's clearly not a good look, and increases Will's chance while making Carlton look like a sellout and an Uncle Tom. It also allows Connor to turn Carlton against Will because out of all of them, Will is the one who has the most to benefit from that video, as he comes out looking crystal clear in it. Viv is trying to keep an open mind about Phil going to work with his ex and her former friend, as there's clearly history between them, and it was big history according to Viv in the family reunion episode. A line that Viv had in the trailer finally surfaces in the show, but while I previously assumed that the line was about Viv taking a backseat to Phil, and while it kinda was, it was primarily about an art piece she was scared to claim, and all this takes place over an IG Live. So the line isn't directed at a particular character, but to the audience that she's directly talking to. Earlier in the episode, Phil and Viv tried to squash the rivalry before it began, but after Carlton accuses Will of spreading the video, the animosity begins to spread between Phil and Will. As Phil threatens to cut Will off and not pay for Zenith anymore after Will comes at Phil for not believing in him when Doc did. Hillary and Jazz's special date is off to a good start, and I really hope nothing ruins it, but we all know that it will. Will, after accusing Phil and Viv for not believing in him, is about to leave practice in the brand new V they bought him. And the guys at Zenith take an interest and invite him out as long as he chauffeurs them. Frederick's resentment towards Jeffrey comes to a head after a day of hearing how valued Jeffrey is to the Banks family and how he lived his whole life without the man. And Frederick would rather just return across the pond and part on the semi-good terms they established so far, instead of trying to get to know Jeffrey more, which might result in more animosity between the two. Will is finally able to bond with a couple of his Zenith teammates, but also has a hostile run-in with a drunk Jackie. Carlton gets a life lesson from his mom about perspective and isolation, and that he isn't alone in the way that he feels, and that each day he is constantly growing and evolving, and he becomes better than he was before. Later on, a perfect evening between Jazz and Hillary goes south so quickly when Jazz's card is declined and Hillary pays before he makes a scene, which exposes an insecurity of Jazz's. Will brings Jackie home, and turns out she also lives with Doc. Doc, after thanking Will, opens up to him, and Will, looking for a father figure, opens up to Doc about the reason why he's even in Bel-Air. And in a moment that had me yelling at the screen, saying how could Will be so stupid to trust Doc after knowing him for such a short time. But will this come back to bite him? It probably will. Before Frederick can leave for the airport, Phil gives him a reality check about some inconsistencies in his life, and how even though Jeffrey couldn't always be with him, he has always been there for him at a distance. Viv may have potential consequences from her live stream and how she mentioned the Neiman Fellowship in a negative light. Then Jazz's insecurities are on overdrive as the couple argues and brings all their issues to the forefront, which results in Hillary ending it between them, opening the door for Jazz to leave, but also opening the door for her and LaMarcus to rekindle. Drew goes on a hater rant about Carlton to anyone who will listen, and Will figures out that it was Drew who airdropped the video, and when Will brings it up, he does nothing short but admit it straight to his face, because Will can't prove it. And when it's revealed Drew and Lisa are starting to hang out, it'll just make Will look jealous now. Later, one of the Zenith players is mysteriously dropped from the team, and Will takes his spot. But we don't really know where this is going. Carlton takes a page out of Viv's book and does his own live stream that goes out to most of his fellow student body. And the live becomes an overarching narration that encompasses what a lot of our characters are going through. It also ends with him giving into his addiction and finally taking a bit of what Connor gave him a few episodes ago. My final thoughts on the episode is that it's clear that they are ramping up the pacing in each storyline, trying to get the characters where they need them to be for the story. A lot of elements brought up into the story in the previous episode come to fruition in the very next episode, which is a bit fast in my opinion. And like I said, they're just trying to get the characters to where they need them to be for the story that they're trying to tell. But all in all, I did enjoy the episode, and I can't wait to share my thoughts on the remaining 3 episodes of the season. So everyone, thanks for joining me this week in the Critic-Verse. See you next time.